Hello and welcome to the New Mindset Podcast. This is Georgia.
And this is Jacob.
And today we will be discussing anxiety disorder myths.
Yes.
Ooh, get keen.
Excited.
Excited?
Very
But
excited.
before we delve into tonight's topic, how you going?
You know how I'm going.
Yeah, I know.
I've got
Worse
the man
for
flu.
wear.
I've got the man flu
Man
right now.
flu. Mm-hmm.
And, but that's all right. We'll get through.
You'll get through. You'll push through.
Yeah.
Every man does with the man flu.
It's going to
With
kill
the help of a strong woman.
I'm not going to make it.
That's what you always say.
I'm not going to make it.
You'll make it.
This is it.
No, it's not.
No, it's been a little frustrating.
It's knocked you around.
It knocked me around a little bit. And so I'm probably going to sound very congested on this, so I do apologise.
Yes.
But no, what were we doing before? We were just trying to set up the audio and just the room and things like that, and everything was going to, nothing was working, but it's just one of those days. But that's okay. Yeah, it's all right.
Full disclosure, I tore a poster.
Georgia tore a poster.
I tore a poster.
And that was rough going.
Yeah. That was the straw that broke the camel's back,
I believe so.
as they say. Jacob needed a minute. I played with Winston. Now we're all good. Now he's napping.
How are you going?
How am I going? I'm going so good.
So good?
So good.
Yeah.
We have shows this weekend for our performances, so it's all hands on deck, kind of getting everything done, get everything sorted for the kids, but excited for the season. It'll be really good.
My man flu hasn't been passed on yet?
No, we're sleeping in separate rooms tonight, so I cannot afford to get sick.
No, you cannot.
I never do, but this could be my one annual case of the flu because I only get the flu every 2 years.
I think I've seen you sick once over the last 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, I don't get sick often at all.
No.
And of course it'll happen when I'm stressed, when I'm tired, and when you've got it and you'll spread it to me. So separate rooms tonight. That's okay.
It's just the cold weather hitting Brisbane. And when I say cold weather, 15 degrees, so it's not that cold,
It was
but
11
it's cold enough.
this morning.
11.
Yeah.
Damn.
Damn.
Now we're a weather podcast.
Yeah, I know.
We've reached new heights.
Back to your main news.
Yeah, main news. All right, let's hear it. What have we got on?
Yeah, anxiety disorder myths. This was a topic that was kind of more your, suggestion, I guess. What makes you want to kind of discuss some of the myths that are out there around anxiety?
I honestly don't remember suggesting it, but I don't really remember too much right now. My head's sort of foggy.
Okay. Well, give us what you can about kind of wrapping everyone in, maybe about the distinguishing between an anxiety disorder and the feelings of anxiety. Maybe we can start there.
Yeah, let's start there.
Because I feel like one of the myths, first off the bat, is that people who don't have an anxiety disorder can't really experience anxiety, or vice versa. If someone experiences anxiety, oh, you've got a disorder right then and there. And there's a bit of self-diagnosis out there. So if you can distinguish the difference between the two, that'd be amazing.
I will in a sec. I do remember why I chose this subject. So this was for someone that either has anxiety or is new to anxiety, or someone out there that is trying to support someone with anxiety. And I think the third person would be someone that doesn't believe so much in anxiety. And this is just going to further educate. Not that we're trying to convince anyone. It's your own beliefs and that's fine. But this is just, we'll just be debunking a few myths out there that personally get me a little irritated when I hear them. Only some of them, but yeah, I'm keen. It'll give me a little lift.
Yeah, okay.
Definitely passionate about it.
We'll give you a little bit of we might have a bit of Jacob fire.
Jacob fire.
Might come out. Who knows?
Yeah, and that might be me gone for the next 48 hours. That will be all my energy gone.
Energy gone.
That's my energy gone. Cool. So, yeah, I'll start with then. Yeah, what is anxiety? So every time we talk about anxiety, we just like to bring it back to that basic definition of, what we can all go back to as Georgia takes her sip fairly loudly. So basically my definition of anxiety is just a persistent worry that interferes with day-to-day life, whether that's through physical or mental effects. And the key word being there is persistent. That's an anxiety disorder, I should clarify. So if, you've got persistent worry and it's interfering with your life. So say that's, you can't go to the supermarket or you can't go somewhere that you generally would feel comfortable going, or even going but it's still holding you back a little bit.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah,
Or you can't easily engage in a place, in a conversation, in an event
yeah,
because there is that back of the mind worry that's going on.
yeah. And just keep in mind that word persistent, because that will be important when we distinguish anxiety disorder compared to just generalized anxiety. Everyone's got
Yeah.
anxiety.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Can I just ask there? Only because in recent we've also talked about irrational.
Yeah,
Does that come into play with anxiety disorder here?
yeah,
As well as persistent?
definitely. Yeah. So persistent worry, and that worry can be legitimate, or
Mhm.
also, and for me anyway, and I've noticed in other people, it's more so irrational. So,
Mm.
like I said, driving to the supermarket, I could have this intense fear, but I've got no idea why.
Yeah. So it
And
comes out
that's,
of nowhere.
yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's interfering with my life, and I cannot make sense of it.
Mm.
Yeah, and if you get that back to back to back to back over a long period of time, then yeah, I'm leaning more towards an anxiety disorder. But general anxiety, just for because like I should say, everyone has anxiety. It's a normal thing. Like I always love to go back to the cavemen.
Mm.
So cavemen had to have anxiety if they were going to survive for any period of time.
Mm.
Because if you didn't have anxiety, well, I'm going sprinting across the jungle, and
Mm.
a bloody dinosaur's going to fly out and get me.
Yeah.
But normal anxiety, yeah, irrational fear that puts your body into a stress response, and it's often associated with feelings of worry, stress, and overwhelm.
Okay.
And when I say body, so that's physical,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what we like to say somatic. So any
Yep.
feelings of anxiety that you feel, physically, we say that's somatic, and that's growing at the moment, which is really interesting if anyone wanted to have a look into it.
Yeah, with like
Um,
awareness out there.
yeah, so I might jump onto that actually now quickly and
Yeah.
just define somatic. So instead of anxiety being in the mind purely, somatic anxiety is a physical manifestation of anxiety. Um, and I find that it's often felt in the stomach, and and can cause headaches, and you get back pain and neck pain and things like that. The skeleton can actually hold it too, and
The
be affected by it.
skeleton.
Well, yeah, your skeleton.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so my neck, when I do my neck, when I crack it, that's often where a lot of men and women hold stress
Yeah.
in the neck. Um, yeah, that would be somatic, but it's like I said, it's a fairly new concept,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
obviously I opened up about my experience a few episodes ago where it sort of hit me out of the blue,
Yeah.
and I couldn't make sense of it, and talk therapy wasn't helping, and my normal techniques weren't working, so I had to sort of switch focus, and I've really been able to overcome it now, thankfully. Well,
Mm.
still going through it, but definitely a better understanding of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. My only question, can I ask it,
Yeah, of course.
is because I just heard you mention before that anxiety, people that experience anxiety, that don't have an anxiety disorder, also have an irrational fear.
Yep.
So the irrational fear is not exclusive to anxiety disorders.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think in an anxiety disorder, it would more so be an irrational fear. But anxiety in general is a normal human emotion,
Yeah.
just like, sadness would be. But when sadness goes too far, we look at then, depression if it's too excessive.
Yeah,
So
got you.
just like anxiety, too much of anything is bad, but too much of worry or an irrational fear is bad. Like, I remember you gave this example of when you missed your flight.
Yeah.
You were super stressed out, almost having a panic attack, you said.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, well, I
but
didn't know what it
no.
was. Like you were kind of I was sharing what I was physically experiencing and you were kind of giving me your perspective.
Yeah, and you could, now looking back on that, you could say that was an irrational fear
Mm.
that you're having.
Yeah, so true.
So, and you don't have anxiety, an anxiety disorder. So,
Mm.
that's my example of that.
Yeah, cool. Cool, cool, cool.
Yeah.
I like that. And then the only thing that I might add or clarify in there is that when we're talking about some like a person experiencing anxiety, as opposed to someone who has an anxiety disorder, I I reckon we just articulate it as someone experiencing anxiety, just like you would say someone's experiencing sadness, not that they have sadness.
Yeah, I can get on board with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Cool.
That's good.
I like it. Well,
I
then
just think,
maybe oh,
just quickly, I just think it's important, to be able to distinguish between an anxiety disorder versus anxiety, and
yes.
then somatic anxiety on top of that, because
Yeah.
somatic anxiety is a whole new board game, ball
Mhm.
game that's that 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 interrupts the entire body.
Mm,
Yeah,
mm.
yeah. Because just for example, when I was speaking to my psychologist about somatic anxiety for the first time, when we went through a few exercises, my legs actually started to really hurt, and I felt the anxiety in there, and that was because we often hear of the fight or flight experience.
Yeah,
I
right.
wanted to, I wanted to fly and run, basically, and my
So
legs
it's
were feeling that,
yeah,
which is
that's why
really
they were
weird. But
tensing.
yeah, but if we can learn to listen to our bodies, that's a massive win for us.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
I like that.
yep,
So those are the 3 types of anxiety you wanted to distinguish?
yeah,
Experiencing a disorder and somatic.
and just general anxiety for anyone living their day to day life that doesn't
Yeah.
have an anxiety disorder.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then maybe we should bust open some myths.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. First one
Yep.
off the bat. Probably the most common one, I reckon. Particularly with the, I guess, different generations as well. Is anxiety just shyness?
No.
No.
But I do agree, like, it is generational. A lot of I speak to a lot of older, when I speak to a lot of older people, even friends that are a little bit older, anxiety for them is just, and I don't know if it's just an Australian thing, but it's just like, oh well, just get on with it. Anxiety is anxiety.
Mm.
But no, anxiety is not just shyness. Like we said, anxiety is an irrational stress response. And if I'm to define shyness, I would say is the feeling of being, uncomfortable, someone being reserved almost.
Uncomfortable maybe in a public setting or
Uh,
around unfamiliar people? Is
well,
that kind of where you would define that uncomfortable feeling?
I mean, someone can be shy. In most examples, in most, um, yeah, most examples would be in a social setting,
Yeah, okay.
because normally when someone's shy, they're more comfortable around people that they're comfortable with.
Yes.
Um, yeah, so definitely let's speak about social settings specifically here, then, if that works. Um,
Yeah, that might help.
but yeah, so someone feeling a little more reserved socially. So I'll give just my example. So I'm highly anxious, but I'm not that shy.
Mm.
Like, I'm actually quite, what do we call it, an ambivert. So you're
Yeah.
mixed in between intro and extrovert. Um, and I like my alone time, but I also love to be, get my opinion out there and
Mm.
chat. Otherwise, you wouldn't really do a podcast, would you?
No,
But
probably not.
in social settings, I can be quite bubbly and out there, and then other times I can be just quite reserved. Um, but yeah, definitely not shy. And I actually thought of a cool example, when this question came up earlier in the week.
Mm.
Robin Williams, obviously, he had major anxiety, major depression. But if we just focus on the anxiety for a second, he was a
Mm.
very highly anxious person, um, and he's admitted that, obviously, before he passed. But he was in no way shy.
Mm.
Obviously, if
Yeah.
anyone goes on YouTube and watches 10 minutes of Robin Williams acting,
Or just his stand
his
up
stand
is
up,
incredible.
definitely not a shy person.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, definitely not a shy person, but a very anxious person. They're
Yeah.
completely different, but they get thrown into the same sort of bag.
Yeah, because I guess you think you feel as though that someone that's experiencing that anxiety is always, yeah, you feel as though that they're not those types of people who are gonna go out there and make conversation or ask questions of other people. But it's not the conversing, I guess, or at least that's what I've experienced as a support person with you in particular. When you're in a social setting, you'll be even more social, um, because of the amount of anxiety that you're experiencing. You wanna cover it up, or not intentionally, but I think you're so, you overthink, and that almost, yeah, drives your amount of conversation that you lead.
Yeah, I think that's the. I want to clarify that. I think that's the older, younger, like the younger version of me.
Yeah,
Now
yeah,
I'm very open with, hey, like whoever I'm with, hey, I'm feeling anxious today, and then
yeah,
it'll get to the point where I even turned to you at a family dinner we
mm,
did on the Gold Coast, and I just turned to you and said, I've got 10 more minutes of social
Yeah.
battery left.
Yeah.
And that's me just saying, I've exerted too much energy now into this and I know my limit.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, no, that's so true. The example I was thinking of was when we were very early on together,
Yeah.
and you were at one of my family events, and you were like so social with everyone. No one would have ever thought that you would have had anxiety. So you weren't shy at all. But at the end of that day, your battery was totally drained because of the amount of overthinking that you were having. So
yeah.
it's so good now that you have that relationship with your anxiety so that
Yes.
you know your limits.
Yeah.
And you can communicate that as well with those people that are close to you.
Well, even people that aren't close to me, I honestly don't care.
Yeah, okay.
Like, and this might just be me being a little more stubborn now that I'm sick, but I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to overwork my limit just to please someone else.
Yeah.
I've got that limit that I know where the bar is, and if I go over that, then it's going to take me longer to recover. Because let's just say that event
Yeah.
that we went, I know the event that you're talking about. Was that your birthday? Your 21st?
Yeah.
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 Um, yeah, honestly, that probably took me a week to come down from.
Yeah.
But if I were to do that now, I would go in there with a little more of an attitude of, all right, let's just select my moments where I want to jump in, and
Mm.
then I'll be able to be recovered tonight. I'll be sweet.
Mm.
But yeah, back then I probably didn't have that knowledge of, let's hold back a little here.
Mm. Well, I
Yeah.
think that's just more understanding of yourself.
Yeah, becoming a little more mature and just a little trialing new things. But back to shyness. I think when you're at school, the shy kid,
Mm.
but you don't know the anxious kid. That's
Mm.
my thought
I
anyway.
like that.
Like my sister is quite shy, and you can see that. But then you know, but then I'm anxious, and you can't really. Some people don't know that I'm anxious unless I'm very open about that. If that makes sense.
Mm.
Yeah.
No, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Case closed?
For now, yeah.
For now. For now.
On shyness, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll probably touch on that later on, but that seems really nice and conclusive
Yeah, cool.
for now. Next one. Anxiety disorder is not a real illness.
Yeah.
What makes you say that? Or well, what kind of about that myth comes forward to your attention? That was a really weird way of phrasing that. I apologize.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that myth?
On the myth of anxiety disorder is not a real disorder, illness. Yeah. It makes me a little sad
Mm.
that even needs to be discussed now.
Mm.
Because we just had so much work done where, mental health is always progressing, and it's picked up majorly in the last, 10 years.
Mm.
And for people out there to think it's, not even, we don't need, speaking from someone that has anxiety and helps people with anxiety,
Mm.
not everyone needs empathy, but a little bit of sympathy and, just the knowledge of, oh, this is an actual thing. I always like to say,
Hold on, can I just clarify? I think you mean the other way around.
what's that?
Sympathy and empathy are different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not everyone can empathize, though. You can't really empathize if you don't understand or have experienced it before. So I'm saying I don't need people to empathize with me, but I need people to understand that this is a thing. I don't need you to feel it. I just need you to just know that, hey, I may not be at my best today because I have, like, if you're going to work, for instance.
Mm.
So I'm going to work, but I'll be open and say, look, my anxiety is quite high today. So I may need an extra few minutes here and there.
Mm.
I don't need you to think anything of that or
Yeah.
question it. Just know. Basically, that's what I'm saying. Just you don't need to be empathetic because empathy to me is for someone that has either lived through it or had someone close to them with anxiety, or they're willing to really learn and delve into it. So I don't really need that because not everyone is empathetic.
Yeah, okay.
If
I
that
got
makes
you.
sense. Yeah.
Sorry, now I'm with you. Yeah.
Cool. But yeah, anxiety is just as real as any cancer. That's for sure, and it differs person to person, of course. That we've, you and I have spoken. Like we've got friends that are, really anxious, and then, we got others that are not really anxious. And I've spoken to people that are, so anxious that they can't even leave their own house. And they can't drive their car, and they don't do that for years, or don't go to work because of the anxiety. And and then you get some people that are just a little bit anxious, and they can't go to the supermarket today, and that's
Mm.
fine.
Mm.
Or they push through, and it's just a little bit of anxiety. So there's just different severities. Yeah, but scientifically, if I can go into that, because a lot of people, what's that saying? What's that one with Santa? You don't believe what you can't see.
Mm.
Um, that's the problem with mental
Seeing
health.
is believing.
Yeah, like, and I just with, and this is generalizing, but the older generation, just because it was not prioritized, they think this is all just a new fad, like a new trend, and it's just an easy excuse not to do something
Mm.
using anxiety, but it's not the case. So just scientifically, it's been proven, like an anxiety disorder is related to a lack of dopamine and serotonin, and just because we can't see that. Well, just because a normal person can't see that, like we're looking face to face, you can't see that. Doesn't mean it's not there.
Mm.
But just because you can't see a tumor doesn't mean the tumor's not there.
Mm.
So it's just one of those things. And with technology in the future, we'll be able to, that will be able to be justified. You know what I mean? Like, we'll be able to test for anxiety and that
Well,
lack of
that'd be good.
chemical,
Yeah.
instead of just having to go to therapy and speak to a psychologist and um, work through it. Because honestly, therapy is a little bit of a guessing game. Like, how can you be absolutely certain that someone has anxiety or
Mm.
depression
You
or
can't.
trauma? Like, yeah, you can't. So, yeah, just one of those things. But I think, yeah, anxiety is not a real disorder. Don't be so naive if that's your
Yeah.
thought. And if that is your thought, when you speak to someone that has anxiety, just, you know, show an ounce of respect.
I think it's just, yeah, like it's tough not being able to connect with someone when you haven't had a similar experience. But I think it's just that thought of being able to put yourself in their shoes to the best of your ability is what someone can do to empathize. And I think you're right. Like, there's you've got to have a very unique experience to be able to empathize with someone that has an anxiety disorder. But it's just being open, being curious, and being and having an open conversation if the person with the anxiety disorder is open to it, and if you're open to receiving that insight, then you can kind of really understand
Yeah.
that it is a disorder that people experience.
And I think of a lot of people out there, and I won't just generalize anxiety, I'll say any mental illness
Mm.
go through this.
Mm.
And people are different. Some people really need empathy and support.
Mm.
I honestly just need just a little bit of respect, basically, and just respect and trust what I'm saying, because I'm not going to take advantage of you. I don't want to swear, because then we've got to make this episode explicit. But we know someone quite close that, how can I say this? Didn't when I opened up, and you could see that I was sort of being affected by anxiety. It wasn't really respected at all,
Mm.
and I didn't, like I say, I don't need empathy, but when I open up and say, "Hey, I've got this battle," it doesn't need to be judged. Do you know what I
Mm.
mean? And that
Mm.
just sets you back so far, and it's so hard to rebuild a relationship from that,
Yeah.
if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of every person with mental illness would suffer that, so it's not an uncommon thing. And and the people with mental illness also need to understand that you know you can't have everyone's trust and backing and empathy. So don't be naive either.
Well, that's the other part that I was gonna say is that
It goes both ways.
yeah, you've got to be able to have a bit of a thick skin, and like kind of like what you were saying earlier today is that you've got to be selective with the people that you share what kind of things with. You can't just assume that everyone is a safe person to have certain conversations with, and that's not being untrusting. That's just being selective in who you have certain conversations with. And you need to have that as a person today. You know, you have your friends that you go to the movies with. You have the friends that you have deep conversations with. You have the friends that you can be really open and honest and say, "Hey, you're really pissing me off," or
Oh, that was the word I was holding back.
it's not a curse word, is it?
I don't know.
It's not.
That's all right. We're in Australia.
Yes.
But yeah, I agree with you. Like, yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I'm definitely not. People with mental health don't get a free pass.
Yeah.
Like, you've still got to have your wits about you. And let's just say, for an example, if someone has a breakup with their boyfriend or girlfriend, you don't go around telling everyone
Mm.
unless you really want the attention,
Mm.
which people do
Yeah. So
sometimes.
when you parade around, I'm experiencing these feelings.
But in
and
general, people,
Mhm.
you only tell what the your two closest friends, your mum and maybe a few friends, and some people love to tell all of Facebook.
Yeah.
But in the general sense, if you've been diagnosed with anxiety or suffering anxiety, be open and honest about it, and go, talk as much as you want about your own experience. Just know that you may not get the response you're looking for from that person. So just be selective with who you choose. But if you don't care about the response and you're thick skinned and
Go
you've dealt
for
with
it.
it, go for it. Tell everyone.
Go
Like
for
in my
it.
example, we're doing a podcast and I'm talking about anxiety and people would see that as vulnerable, but I've worked through it so much and it's just, I want to help others that I honestly don't care.
Yeah.
And that's just where I'm at.
Yeah.
But for 10 years with anxiety, I was, you know, uh, a little more reserved and it was more of
Super
a
hesitant.
weakness. But
Yeah.
now it's, build a relationship, negotiate, and, just it's part of you. So don't fight it
Yeah.
because you cannot. And I know we had this chat yesterday, so we're going off a little bit off track. We had this chat yesterday. I was looking, or maybe it was this morning. We were looking at books. Everything feels like 48 hours ago with my man flu.
Man flu.
We are looking at books on anxiety and what to buy, and there were things that were saying, eliminate your anxiety, completely get rid
Yes.
of your anxiety. I
Yes.
think that was today. And I was
This
just
morning.
looking at it, and it's like, you can't.
You
That's just
can't.
BS.
Yeah.
You can't. What do you want? What do you want to do? You want to eliminate a chemical and um, the
Eliminate the need for a chemical
like.
kind of
What are you
thing.
going to do? Like you've got this illness, so you may like your
Work with it.
diabetes, your type 1 diabetes. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
What are you going to hate yourself and fight yourself for? What you're going to live till what 200?
Yeah.
You're going to fight it for 200 years? Like what? Like
Yeah.
like far out.
Yeah.
Make it work.
I think just coming back, the thing that really stood out for me then is that being able anxiety is as real as anything, like what you've kind of compared it to cancer. I would go on the same line of like it's not in terms of it's not like broken bone that you can really clearly see physically. Or a physical ailment. It's something internal.
Yeah, just quickly.
Yeah.
I had this thought, sorry, it just popped up now. People don't respect and empathize someone with mental health until they've taken action. And when I say action, it's like committed suicide. And I know that's going down a little dark path. But say if, someone's like, if someone, X person opened up and was like, I've got depression, I've got anxiety. A lot of people, and it's still today, a lot of people empathize and, that's so, that's hard for you and how can we help you? And, a lot of people are good with that. But then there's a massive majority of, that's BS. You're just trying to get a day off work, you're trying to do this and this. But the person that doesn't open up at all and then commits the act, all of a sudden 100% of people are then on board and empathize. So, like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
God. And it's hard because people out there on TikTok, a lot of TikTok, especially because it's a younger audience and younger people are a little more erratic with their feelings. And it's just, anxiety disorders here, anxiety disorders there, depression here, trauma here, PTSD, bipolar. And it's just, but who cares about all that? Just focus on you.
Yeah, focus on your own journey.
Yeah. And that's why I said select the people close to you that will respect you. Don't go and open up to this person at school just because of it.
Yeah, especially when it's so raw and when you're still in your healing. I think,
yes,
you've got to be able to have worked through it to some capacity, be a few steps ahead of those people behind you if you want to help other people. but I feel like sharing your experiences when you're at the same stage as someone else, or you're still working through such a touchy subject is a bit tough. It's a bit raw. I
Yeah.
experienced that last week.
Yeah.
Opening up to a capacity that I was probably not, incredibly comfortable with because it's so raw. Whereas like
On the
what you
podcast.
mentioned. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
With negative self-talk. But you like what you said, you've had it for 10 years and you're still working through it, but you're kind of providing those insights from the 10 years that you've healed from, and you're still going through, your somatic and your
I wouldn't say
anxiety
healed.
now.
I didn't have to heal from anything. It was just learning to manage.
Yeah.
Yeah. And learning how to negotiate with myself and build that relationship. But I'm not healing, from any one event.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like anxiety doesn't. It's a little bit of anxiety is not just one event. It's a everyday thing, an anxiety disorder. If that
Yeah,
makes
okay.
sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So
No,
I'm not
that makes
actually
sense.
healing from an event specifically with anxiety.
Yeah.
Yeah. But just it's taken me sort of 10, and it honestly, when I'm 50, I'll still be learning.
Yeah.
So it's just
Learning to manage.
yeah.
Well, maybe can I
Be
then
a learner.
just, while we're on this train of thought, weave in the next myth, which is kind of on topic to what we're talking about, which is someone can just push through anxiety.
Yep.
You've just said that you've been able to manage it for, that's kind of your process at the moment, is learning how to manage and learning how to build that relationship and work with it, as opposed to let me overcome this thing, completely get rid of it, annihilate it, and huzzah, I have no more anxiety. Is it something then that you would phrase as a feeling that you would push through? Or how would you define the difference between pushing through and managing?
Yeah. Well, pushing through to me is a very be careful.
Mm.
That's a very Australian thing to say.
Just
I
keep
think
going, hard work,
just push through.
work harder,
Yeah.
not smarter.
And there's motivational people out there that just say, just push through.
Mm.
And um, like I think it's such a crap thing to say to someone. Just that's not showing any empathy or respect. And I know a lot of, and I'm just going to generalize men in particular here because we all know that men do this,
Mm.
and women to an extent as well. But I'll just speak for men. Yeah, like people. I'll go back to the 8 out of 10 rule that I was talking about that I've discussed before.
Mm.
So you got anxiety. You got an anxiety disorder. Let's say that specifically. I'm looking at a page. I've got a blank page. I wrote out a line. Landscape wise, I got a 1 and a 10. Find your 8. Find what an
Mm.
anxiety scale of 8 is, and that can change day to day. So for today for me, because I've got a bit of a sickness, my anxiety is a little bit higher, and I can't really, it's just a little bit higher today. So that's fine. So my 8 would be going to the supermarket
Yeah.
today and getting food for dinner tonight.
Yeah.
And that's fine. So that's my 8. That's my limit.
Today.
Yeah. So don't cross that limit.
Yeah.
Crossing that limit would be to use that phrase of pushing through. And if I was to push
So
through
true. Yeah.
from 8 to 10, then tomorrow my scale could be at an 8 still, but my scale could be leaving the house.
Is an 8 now.
Yes,
Yeah.
because now you've damaged that relationship. You've gone too far.
So true. You haven't respected the boundary. And I
No.
think if I can just jump in there,
Yeah.
as a support person, because I can think of a few times when I'm still trying to understand where you're currently at with your anxiety, or maybe like, a few months ago, 12 months ago, I, as a support person, think that I'm doing the best thing by you, by helping you, encouraging you, motivating you to, it's okay, you've got it, I'm here with you, let's do this. Yes, all of that commentary is wonderful, but be respectful of your partner, friend, co-worker's 8 and respect it.
Yeah.
And celebrate the wins of that person pushing, no, change the word, of that person achieving their 6 or 7 for the day.
Yeah. And I also want to say, when I say people respect, I'm not saying everyone deserves respect. I'm not saying people with mental health deserve more respect. That's unfair to say. I'm saying don't judge.
It's just
So,
kindness.
yeah.
Just being kind.
Just don't judge.
Yeah.
We don't need anything extra unless we are going in a real deep place and we need to chat to someone, like a psychologist, therapist, counselor, a friend, family member. Selected though. Select them carefully.
Yeah,
I just
like
want to
what we
ride
were
that home.
saying. Yeah.
But yeah, just don't judge. That's the only thing.
Can I share
That's
an
the only thing.
experience of
Yeah.
ours?
Yeah, of course.
About us walking around the block?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Like I remember that one of the experiences that Jacob was having at the time was walking down to one of our little coffee shops with our doggy. And we got to the corner of the block and then we walked down the hill and Jacob kind of just wanted to come back and just do a loop of the block at this point. And I was like, and me not respecting or being kind to how far he'd come already by coming, 3/4 around the block. I was like, oh, Epilo is, it's only just around the corner. It's just down the road.
Giving away our location.
Sorry, I just realized that.
I'm on a famous podcast now. You got to be careful of that.
The coffee shop.
People are going to track me down now.
The coffee shop around the corner is just it's just down the road.
Down the road.
Yeah, and that was where we had a bit of a conversation just then and there. And Jacob kind of was like,
well, more specifically, that conversation, you sort of, kept saying, let's go.
Yeah.
Push through. But I was already at my 8. I hit my
Yeah.
8 and I was respecting my own boundary by saying, no, I've got to go now because I've hit my 8. I'm happy with that. And yeah, and I'm not saying this at all because, it's taking you time to learn. It will equally take me as much time to learn your diabetes.
Yeah.
But
at that point as well.
But like you sort of overstepped the mark and then it sort of diminished my 8 out of 10.
Yes.
It made me feel like crap.
Yes.
But yeah, we had a conversation. And that, honestly, that's the only way you're going to improve. Like me being honest.
Yeah, and I think at that particular experience, we hadn't figured out that language yet. Like you didn't know about 8s, and you hadn't had that scale yet. So you didn't know how to communicate with me what your boundary was. I didn't know how to be encouraging and support you as much as possible without pushing your limits too far. So that just came through a learning curve and experience.
And just for someone that has anxiety, don't honestly, I know all the emotions that go through your head and I could have easily snapped at you in that point.
Yeah.
But
you didn't.
No. And it's just you've got to understand equally that person has no idea internally what you're actually feeling.
Yeah.
So just be calm and say, look, I've hit my 8 or whatever it is for you. You make up your own scale.
Or language or whatever is
whatever works for you. Just be open and honest. And that person, if they're the right person, if they're the selected person, well, they will respect and trust that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what that is.
And that's cool.
So yeah, it just quickly, because I know that this is a little longer podcast, but I'm just very passionate about anxiety. And now I'm going to be tired tonight because I've got the man flu and we can all know.
Go. You're on a train of thought.
But yeah, anxiety, pushing through wise. So people that having anxiety disorder will often feel panic attacks or borderline panic attacks that they can't push through. And that's different for everyone. So for me, I need to run to the toilet, the bathroom. And that's my panic attack. That's my somatic panic attack.
Yeah.
But for others, they'll genuinely just pass out.
Yeah.
So how can you tell someone to push through that when physically they're passed out?
When that's there. Yeah. That's their 10, 11, 12. Is that reaction?
I don't actually like to go past 10 because then you're not really, I'm very processed here.
Oh, sorry.
But I'm just being realistic. So, like when someone rates their day, to be a 10, you've got to have the best day of your life. To have a 1, you've got to have the worst day. So, you never really want to be
above that.
Yeah, we're using the scale properly.
Sorry, that's me being an extremist.
That's okay.
Being overly enthusiastic.
And even an 8 might be too high. Like if someone has just got anxiety, honestly, go as high as what you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even then, probably take it down a number.
Well, yeah. Yeah, true. If you're working from 0, if 0 is I can't leave the house, or even 0 could be I can't leave the room.
Yeah, we know someone newly to anxiety, and the biggest thing is being kind to yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been saying. And
respect your own boundaries.
Respect your own
without
judgment.
Boundaries.
Being compassionate to yourself.
Yeah.
Because you're already initially it feels like you're in a war. You're in a war in your own head, so don't jump on the other side.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's get that anxiety working with you. Let's get you working with that anxiety and being compassionate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not again.
Yes. That's very important.
I like that.
Yep. So
Passionate.
hard. I'm in this bloody gown at the moment. It's hot as in here.
I'm in my gown.
My oh god, I don't even want to say it. My Pete Alexander gown.
Peter Alexander gown.
I've done Logan disjustice today.
Disjustice. Yeah, and you'll sleep in your little Peter Alexander jammies that I gotcha.
Yep.
They're just so soft. There's nothing you get. It's just like, get me something as soft as that. Sorry. You're passionate
Peter
about your
Alexander are not a sponsor.
You're passionate about your anxiety. I'm passionate about my pajamas.
Yes.
You're gonna have a good night's sleep. Okay, next myth.
Yeah. Let's do it. Let's hear it.
Yep. Next one. An anxiety disorder is not as serious as something like depression.
We sort of spoke about that earlier, so I'll probably just quickly
skip
just
over
because
it.
I know that I won't skip over it.
I will just briefly acknowledge.
If that's okay with you.
Yeah, please continue.
May I?
Yes.
Okay.
On the depression news.
On the depression news. So, yeah. So for me, it's only taken me. I probably only realised it this year. But my anxiety is worse than my depression. But my anxiety drives my depression. So I'll just give an example of that. So
yes, please.
So 8 out of 10, like I said, 8 out of 10, we already spoke about it. If you go over that too many times, for me anyway, I have those down days where then I miss an event, I miss work, I don't brush my teeth, I don't have a shower. You don't exercise, you don't eat well. That's because I've abused my 8 out of 10 rule and now I don't have the energy and capacity to look after myself.
Yeah.
And then because of those, that leads to me being depressed.
Right.
And then I'm in this slump. So for me, if I can control my anxiety and manage it appropriately, then I avoid the depression. But for many, just to touch on depression super quick, and I want to do episodes in future about it. It's just not the focus right now. But depression can come on at any point at your happiest. But for me, that's not the case. So I could be at the top of my game. I could manage my anxiety the best I can and, could be a billionaire. You could have everything. My depression will still hit. And we see that with sportsmen. They look like they have the world at their feet. And all of a sudden, they're gone because they've got depression. And it wasn't well looked after. So for me, no, anxiety is as serious as anything. They're all as serious as each other.
I guess you'd say it's individual.
Yeah, it's definitely, and there's different severities. So like I said, I was diagnosed with like major anxiety, but my depression was not on that nowhere near major. And that's just because my anxiety drives my depression. For me in particular, I'm not saying that for everyone at all.
But that's
just me.
Your personal experience.
Yep.
I like it.
Yeah. We've touched on that.
Discussed that.
And I want to do a depressive episode in future. An episode based on depression. And it doesn't have to be a sad thing. It's just a learning.
No, it's just acknowledging that it's there.
And opening
and
that
you
conversation.
Have some experience there with it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Cool.
Last myth.
Last one.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Anxiety can be fixed with a pill.
No.
No. Please elaborate, sir.
Yes, madame. So anxiety medicine can assist.
Yes.
But I'm going a little bit off track here. But when I got my diagnosed, I probably was diagnosed for a few months and nothing was really helping. And I was missing school. I actually ended up missing like 8 months of school, which was crazy. Grade 5, was it? Grade 5?
You will never live it down.
No, I don't
know my times tables. I don't know how to do division.
Hey.
You know how many times I hear that?
I know how to do it off the top of
Constantly.
my head. I just don't know how to write it down and do it.
Long division.
Oh, God. I don't
Have you ever needed that? No.
No, but in future I may.
Okay.
So, yeah, the anxiety medication can assist the anxiety disorder, but it won't be like the savior. It won't, you're not going to have a pill and then boom, it's gone.
Yeah.
So it's a tool to help improve. And if you stick to your normal anxieties, like, whatever works for you, like you've got to find that plan and chat to a psychologist. But use the tools that, eat healthy, shower, water, sleep, exercise, 8 out of 10 rule, whatever rule works for you. Just keep going. And compassionate, put an anxiety pill on top of that, and the appropriate pill, because there's a lot that don't work. I started on one, and it was terrible for me, and it drove me crazy. It actually kept me up at night, gave me headaches, and it was really bad. And I switched to this other one.
Golly.
Well, like ones make you put on weight, ones actually make your anxiety worse,
Well,
make your
that's like-
depressive worse.
Yeah, the
make
side
your
effects of
depression
all
worse.
the different pills.
So yeah, like there's so many out there. So you've just got to experiment and be patient and compassionate. But I wrote this down. So it's like a footy player getting upgraded boots, but if they don't train and continue to improve, those boots are useless.
Those boats.
Who's
going to carry the boats?
Goggins. But yeah, do you get what I mean?
Yeah, no, I actually loved that example.
Yeah.
Of the boots.
The boots.
The boots. That makes sense.
Yeah, so it's just a tool to use.
Yeah, I think there's too much.
Don't rely on it. Don't rely on it.
Based on this magic fix, and it's going to fix everything. Like, you have to do the work as well. You know, build that relationship, learn to manage the anxiety. It is a superpower if you help it and allow it to be, by implementing certain tools and strategies.
And I might just sneak this one in here. I'll take up 30 seconds of your time. But for someone new to anxiety or mental illness, my suggestion is to talk to a psychiatrist before you get medicated, because I find that, general doctors, they often can be quite willy-nilly with it. And you fill out a survey and boom, I can give you this medicine.
Can have this pill.
And just be careful of that. So if you can and psychiatrists are hard to book in at the moment, but if you can just give yourself that little bit more time, if not, whatever. If you can, yep, cool.
Well, that's full disclaimer. That is just your opinion from your experience.
Yes.
Not any professional advice. If you need any professional advice, please go get it.
But yeah, that's just that was my experience.
Personal experience, but he
just because there's so many different pills, and and the right process should be followed.
Yeah.
That's another future episode though that I could talk for ages about.
Love it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Are those all the myths?
That's all the myths that we wanted to bust, just like Mythbusters. If you haven't seen that TV show, highly recommend.
Again, we're not sponsored by Mythbusters.
No, we're not. But that's just a really cool TV show that I loved watching with my brother.
Mythbusters was cool. That was the guy with the mustache, hey?
Yeah. And the beret. One with a beret and one with a really thick red beard.
A thick red beard.
A thicky red beard. That just sounds suspicious. Anyway, that was great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jacob.
When was the last time you called me Jacob? That was
weird.
I don't know. Okay, cool. Have you got a checkout question this week? Have you thought of anything?
Yes, I did. Thank you very much. And I was going to change it, but this is what it is now. Are you ready?
Unlike you.
What, changing things last minute?
Yep.
If you couldn't tell, that was complete sarcasm. Checkout question. Deserted island essentials.
How many do I get?
You get 3.
Can I just bring a boat with an engine and some food?
Okay.
Well, if I can do that, I'll do that. No,
okay.
So I'll pick one that's I've got to survive. So I'll pick. Oh, is it a big island? Like, what are we talking?
We're talking like small.
What? A small island. Okay.
A small island.
Any
It's got trees. It's got a bit of foliage.
Paint me a picture.
Got it's a deserted forest, but it's not completely bare. It's got some forest, a bit of jungle.
Oh God.
But not to the nth degree. You could easily walk around the whole island in one day.
Okay.
It's that small, but it has a dense forest in the middle of it.
Okay.
With potential animals, potential tribes. Who knows?
Oh God. Okay.
It could be a tribe. I don't know.
So it's not that small.
But you could walk around it in one day.
I could walk around in one day.
In 24 hours.
Okay.
The parameter is 24 hours.
Roger. I am going to bring. I'm hoping that people will come looking for me. So if I don't do a podcast one week, I may be on a deserted island, fighting a tribe that I've got no idea about. But I will bring a fishing rod.
Of course you would.
I'm bringing a fishing rod.
Fisherman.
I'm bringing a fishing rod. I'm going to bring some flint and steel. I think that's I've got to bring
2.
All right, which one is more valuable? think flint. I think
Yeah.
flint. I can smash some rocks together and and then I think some rope. I think some rope to tie up if no one comes for me, then I'm bringing this. That sounds so bad. I'm going to make a boat. The rope is for a boat.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll probably what did I say?
Rope,
Sue?
flint, and
Fishing rod.
Fishing rod.
And
Okay.
that includes tackle.
Okay.
In line.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
And I'm going to befriend the villagers.
Okay.
If there are any. And we're going to make a good society.
Okay.
Yep.
And start new.
And start a new podcast there too.
Love it.
Yep.
Cool.
Would you come looking for me though?
Yeah, I'd come.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
For give it a good 48 hours.
Yeah.
All right. Let's hear yours. What are you bringing? 3 things?
Oh, I forgot. My things are I'd bring a boat.
No.
Okay, I would bring some type of tarp, I reckon. Bring a bit of rope.
Got a tarp and a rope.
Tarp and a rope. And
some gluten-free chips.
Spear. Oh, can I put my diabetes supplies? I need that.
You need more than 3. That's your list gone.
No, supplies is 1. A bucket full of diabetes supplies.
I wanted flint and steel.
Yeah, that's only 1.
Okay. Okay, so you've got diabetes stuff.
A bucket for diabetes in 1.
You got your tarp.
Oh, I could do without a tarp.
Okay.
I think I would need rope.
So you got some rope. You've got some
diabetes supplies. And a spear. Yeah, some sharp. Maybe an axe. No, spear. Axe.
You got an axe.
I got an axe.
Okay.
So I can make a spear.
So what are you going to do for food?
From wood. I'll make a spear and spear some fish.
Okay. Throw your back out doing it.
Yeah, probably.
Probably throw the spear too far. And then you got.
And then I got to go and make
your
another
thing
spear.
like shot put was your big thing?
Hey. Javelin. I landed the stick.
Jam.
I don't even know what it's called. Jam.
I went to say something and I said damn.
Damn and
jam. All right.
There we go.
I'm getting delirious, I think.
You are. You need to sleep now.
Sleep.
Winston didn't react to that. Good. But thanks everyone. What would be your essentials that you would take on a deserted island?
Where do they answer?
That was the whole reason for this podcast episode. The past 50 minutes has been irrelevant. We just want to know your essentials.
I love the checkout question.
No, I'm joking. I really hope that Jacob sharing your experiences has helped someone today. Whether or not there's someone new to anxiety, have experienced it for forever, a support person, or someone who has absolutely no relation whatsoever, but just wants to understand someone's perspective. I hope that there's a few nuggets of gold in there.
Very well put. Cool. Thanks, so guys.
We'll check you out next time.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.